Alright, what's up folks? So today's episode is going to be about Bakkt being delayed. Well, not exactly. It doesn't come as any surprise to us actually. I didn't anticipate that we would have Bakkt, and at the same time, I mean, Bakkt will eventually be approved and it will start onboarding clients and customers, but no big deal. You know why? Because probably the STO hype is going to start re-emerging, and it may help the market in a way, right? But I hope that with this episode, it's not to hype everyone up about a next bull run or a potential catalyst, but more of to make sure that you guys understand what STOs are all about. Is it legal? Should we even start investing in STOs? What is an STO? I think that's the most important thing that we'll be covering in this episode. So without further ado, let's cover the overall general markets first, and then after that we'll go into the discussion about the Bakkt, about STOs.
Right, so welcome to CG Market Watch Live. Alright, so let's begin. First of all, we understand that from CoinMarketCap, everything is more or less red, right? There's a very low volume that's happening, and I think it's natural. I already spoke about this on Wednesday. I've already kind of speculated that we will have a take profit Friday, and indeed it happened. And
go ahead.
That's what I needed most. Okay, so with regards to market cap, we are still hovering above 200 billion. I guess that it's kind of like a good sign, but we have dipped below 210 bill. Of course, 24 hours volume is still on the low side. It's on 11 billion. And we have this article that mentioned that Bitcoin volume has approached a yearly low again as market deletes $6 billion. So right now, all we can really say is that market volume is very, very thin. Okay, and on Monday, when the Tether implosion did happen, Tether actually yanked out about 610 million out of circulation this month. So it's what's happening in the market, and we still see a $200 discrepancy between a fiat exchange for BTC and a Tether exchange in terms of BTC. So that difference is still there, that gap is still there, and only when the gap is kind of bridged do we kind of see a new market sentiment being built up. If not now, we'll just be seeing more of a downturn because there's not enough volume, or just more consolidation, which I already spoke about it on Wednesday as well. Alright, so back to our charts. I was really talking about this kind of decline because particularly it's a Friday, take profit Friday, and also this particular implosion came from Tether, Tether's implosion, Tether's FUD, whatever you call it, and a lot of volume actually flowed into true US dollars and the other stable coins, right? So Ryan did a stable tokens evaluation on Tuesday. I think that was very well done, and so that's what's happening in the market, and no one exactly know where it's going to go next. And also because the volume has been really weak, there's so little trading volume that's pushing up the market, and so I don't really see any recovery for at least today and tomorrow. Sunday you may just see some small recovery, but I really don't see much recovery today and for the weekends. Alright, so if you are looking to really enter into BTC using Tether, these are the pricing that you can really look at. Of course, 6,546, 6,475, and 6,374. Of course, this is not financial advice. These are just some levels that you can take note of. Alright. Now, coming to Gemini, when we're talking about fiat exchange, you could see the fundamental price difference, right? On Gemini is 6,358. Whereas on Binance, they are kind of freezing. Oh, sorry, this is Huobi. On Huobi is 6,584. All right, so you could see kind of like a $211 discrepancy. On Monday, it actually went up to about $450 discrepancy. That gap so huge.
It was much more than that.
Oh, much more than that, right?
Yeah. It was more than almost close to about $700. So that was all the fear that was coming in because of the potential Tether implosion, or was Tether still going to be viable as a stable coin?
So in fact, I mean, we had a phone call about that Tether issue, and we were discussing what exactly should we do at that moment. But we decided to stick to Tether, right? And I think that was a good choice or good decision. And I mean, we did lose some value in that sense because Tether did depreciate in terms of value, but it's still there, right? It's still here to stay. In terms of Ethereum, well, there is still a slight difference between prices as well, between Gemini and of course we're talking about Binance. Okay, so there's a slight difference of about, I would say, close to about
less than $20.
Yeah, less than $20, about $7 for now.
But $20 is pretty significant. It's 10%.
Yeah, it's very significant
if you think
Ethereum.
about it, it's 10% because it's 10% for you to actually want to buy using US dollar Tether, which is ridiculous. Like I said, it was all FUD. The prices are starting to normalize again. But there are articles that are stating that Tether did a lot of withdrawals this month. That means Tether back to US dollars, you see. So that is something that is that is very suspicious to us. And at the end of the day, like I said, sometimes it's about having more choices. And I'm pretty thankful that we're going to have more choices coming up, especially as the market matures.
Yeah, so most definitely. So for Ethereum wise, we do see a very similar pattern to Bitcoin price wise. Of course, now we are still facing a very low volume. So if BTC is facing low volume, Ethereum will definitely be facing an even lower volume, right? Like it's very challenging times for Ethereum, especially when the ICO market is not heated up. It's very slow, and so therefore people are not really holding so much Ethereum. What's the perks of holding it, to be honest? And therefore we don't see much volume coming in. Same for Gemini for Ethereum. But if you're really looking to buy Ethereum from scratch in terms of fiat, I think $193, $189, or even $196 is a fair value for Ethereum for now. All right?
Well, that's the question, right, that we're going to be covering. What is the fair value? And I think I'm very excited about the whole STO market, because at least we can start putting a real value, or at least have a calculation on why this token is this price. This is the part where I'm going to love a lot.
And I think it's a fundamental difference between SEC compliant and SEC approved,
which
right?
we will see very little of, by the way.
Yeah, so in any case, today Polymath did went up by about 20 to 20% on Binance, right?
Actually,
and,
in the past 3 days, it was close to 30%.
Yeah, and we have this particular wick, this candle. So what we want to talk about is, before that, let's go into Bakkt quickly, and then we'll touch on STO, right? So Kelly is a kind of Kelly's the CEO of Bakkt. Just kind of published his article on Medium. I think the most important emphasis here is, other than recruiting a new COO, which is the employee number 5 on Coinbase, named Adam, the other big point is this: we are taking a transparent approach to engage across industry, blah, blah, blah. They are going to be testing, onboarding in November. The trading and warehousing is in December, and that's when it kickstarts in terms of Bakkt. All right, so this is an article from her. But this is all subjected to CFTC approval,
which is probably going to be delayed again.
Yeah,
so I'm telling you right now that even if it goes through, there's still going to be a lot of testing, onboarding, making sure that all the assets can transact safely. And then after that, don't forget, after that you have to store the assets, because right now retail investors are not really interested, like for example the enthusiasts like us, where we want to keep our own assets. They just want to get going, get started. I want to deposit my money, I want to start trading. From then, if I want to extract all my past trades, everything can be done up for me on one single platform. And if Bakkt can fulfill that, and of whatever new platforms that are going to be coming out that are going to be crypto asset trading friendly, this is more or less going to be the deal. Okay, so there was another thing that we are going to have to cover, which is
STO,
which is actually very big, and it could change the way we view Binance, Huobi, or whatever existing cryptocurrency exchange. Is that the big boys are going to be coming in. They have a bigger database of users. They have already been in the financial markets, or at least running exchanges for the longest time. What will happen to our beloved Binance then? What will happen to Huobi then? You know, it will be very interesting indeed. And will they still be relevant? You know, that's definitely a discussion that we must have. Okay, but in this episode, of course, we still want to be very focused on STO. So let's get into it.
So I think what's important here is we need to kind of understand what is an STO. All right. So based on this article on Bitcoin Exchange Guide from them, all right. It actually stands for security token offerings, right? And I think security token has been, the hype, so-called hype, even during these bearish times.
There is still a little bit of hype now. When I say hype, when we say hype, I want to at least be at the forefront of this, because I see that there are ads coming out about STOs already at the moment, and that is very worrying to me, because I would want my viewers to make sure that if they're going to be stepping into STOs, we have to start asking very critical questions about the project. Okay, and we don't want our viewers to make the same mistake as they did during the ICO phase, because right now it's a bear market, enthusiasm is very, very low, but I'm very certain that more people are more cautious. But the folks that are very new, they'll be wondering, wow, what is an STO? It's a security. So that means it does it mean that the company has revenue? Does it mean that the companies have product? And at the same time, it must have profit. Because if you're going to be offering me a security, right, that means I would have equities in your company. That's kind of like a good thing. But when you say that you're compliant, who is saying that you are? You're deeming yourself compliant, or are you allowing the regulators to give that stamp of approval to say that yes, you are compliant, which I don't see. So you have to be very, very careful, guys, because this is the next phase. You're starting to see these things happen on YouTube. We are getting marketers and inquiries about interviewing and putting up ads on about their STO. So I'm a bit concerned, because I'm fine with that, right? Because we are still a media platform. But at the end of the day, we want to also cover this in its entirety and make sure that our viewers are fully aware about what to do when they start seeing all these ads. So feel free to share this video to all your friends and family, especially if they are interested about this space and what exactly is an STO. So allow me to maybe cover a little bit about what securities are all about. Securities are very, very straightforward. As long as they are tradable on an existing financial market and there is a deemed monetary return, that means there's an expectation of a return. ICOs in the past, right, will always say that we will never provide a return. But there were some ICOs that were very brazen enough to say that they would provide a return, and that is in their white paper. But those that have the balls to do that are no longer in existence, because those were scams to begin with. Unfortunately, people did lose money. To what extent, how much money did they lose? Nobody actually knows, you see. So there was very little compliance and accountability. Now, for securities, bear in mind that you always have to get the approval from the monetary authority in that country where they are registered. If they say they are registered in Singapore, for example, they have to get the monetary authority of Singapore to say that you guys are compliant. Then you are able to do your fundraising and whatnot in Singapore. Now, in the US, right, I doubt there will be many companies able to do that. Okay, I doubt, because SEC is going to be very, very strict on the existing rules and regulations and guidelines. So I don't think that there's going to be any stamp of approvals from SEC anytime soon. I mean, they took such a long time to define whether Ethereum and Bitcoin are securities. What more if there's a whole string of so-called STO companies, or companies that want to issue an STO, and then you have all these applications coming in. They're going to reject a whole bunch of them, and only the top notch, the ones that have the best connections, are going to be able to provide you with that kind of insight. And honestly, I don't think it's going to be very difficult to see where the true blue projects are going to be from, because then it boils down to asking them, or asking the founders very simply, how long have you been in business? Okay, at the same time, what kind of products you have? Okay, great, you have products, you have services. How big is your database? How big is your client base? After that, let's just see what's your overall growth. After that, we'll look at your revenue. From then, do you have any profits after operational costs? So you see, all these questions are now tangible. You're gonna have a whole lot of people asking a lot of questions, and if you cannot substantiate your statements, you're gonna be fucked big time, because it's harder. Right now, there are more and more intelligent people coming into the space. Not only just the viewers are intelligent, but you're having more professionals that are from accounting, banking, hedge funds are all starting to step in. If you want big money, you better be a solid project.
I think that's one of the reasons why the project are saying that they're SEC compliant or trying to do STO. It's also partly because they kind of know that, hey, if SEC kind of classifies cryptocurrency into particular asset, perhaps in securities, then whatever the token that they're gonna do, it has to be SEC compliant.
Definitely,
right?
but SEC, you see, the whole idea by stating that you're SEC compliant, first you're gonna give your initial investors some kind of assurance that in the event that SEC does come down on us, okay, we are gonna be compliant, right? Or they assume that they will be compliant, so that they won't get delisted off the exchange. Now the question is, which exchange exchanges are going to be able to be compliant themselves to even house these STOs. Because let's just put it this way, you have housed ICOs that are not compliant. Suddenly you're going to say that you're going to be able to house STOs, right? So the exchange has to change the policy already. Okay, this is a tricky piece of it's a very tricky piece of the puzzle, and obviously no one really knows how this will play out. Okay, but we're just giving you a little bit of insight on what we are thinking at the moment, and what we're going to be able to provide our premium members the information on a consistent level, so that they can start getting invested in quality STOs. Because if STOs are going to be legit, okay, I mean, look, let's just put it this way, I look at STOs as a digitization of shares. Okay, and if it's going to be a digitization of shares, you're going to open up a whole new market. At the same time, also, companies will definitely feel more inclined to start raising funds. All right, that's for sure. And companies that are credible enough, that have kind of put their IPO plans at the sidelines, are now able to realize and start expanding with the whole STO space. Because hey, what makes you think that if a company has been around for 5 years or so, they want to do an IPO, but the fees are just exorbitant? Maybe the access to various markets are not available. Maybe with the STO space, they can start doing that, right? So we also must look at the pros, the possibilities, the positive side of an STO offering, or a security token offering, right? I know that we had a lot of good and bad experiences with ICOs, but right now, if you think about it, we're moving to an era or a period of more transparency and more validity, right? Because we need to have validity. Because if we don't have that, how are we going to know that this company is legit? When I say a company is legit, it's like, not only are they registered, they are a company that has operations, like full-on operations. They have revenue and profits, guys. Profits is just so hard to do these days. Most stocks are working on a growth model. That means they don't have profits. They have revenue, but they are just throwing everything back to the growth. So you have to start seeing, and you know what? Maybe the STO space is going to give us that chance, where companies are going to be a little bit leaner. They're going to raise less. They're going to work harder, or they're just going to currently have already a solid revenue model. They're just raising more funds, and they want to give their company away in a digitized form, which is the STO form. Yeah, so that's kind of like how I see it, and I am a little bit excited, but at the same time, I'm also going to be more cautious than excited at the moment, because I need to have at least a regulator to come and say, okay, or a credible regulator to come and say, hey, okay, these are the guidelines that we are going to approve. We're going to allow all this, and then we can really kickstart.
Yeah. And I think the other question that I want to ask is, what exactly is going to be the token for STO?
Yeah.
Right. So
what is that, man?
Right. So ICO was Ethereum, right?
Yes.
Could Polymath possibly be the next one? Right. Like
those
they mentioned, right?
are big shoes to fill, man.
Yeah.
Those are big shoes to fill.
I think that's the other question we need to ask. On the next ICO run up, when the whole market turns bullish. I think that's the other question I want.
Like when you say that you're STO platform, to me that means very, very little. You know why? Because if you are going to be a platform, right? That means you're gonna be just a service provider. Okay. So the next thing is, you as a service provider, you're gonna have to help the companies coming on board on legal, all right, to make sure that they obviously qualify as an STO. Okay, then from then you're gonna have them listed. Now listing is really gonna be a problem already. I mean, look, if you feel that you're confident enough to be to help them structure the whole business so that they're gonna be compliant, the next thing is, where's the regulatory guideline? Where is the regulatory guideline? From whom? If you're going to have an international market, okay, this obviously doesn't look like it's going to be international. It's going to be restricted to various countries. I know for one thing, Singapore is going to be restricted. US is going to be restricted. China is going to be restricted because they already shut down on the ICO space. They don't even have a clear cut above the line memorandum about where the heck is this STO going to come from. So the only places that you probably can function, right, are all the British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, getting licensing from there, Malta, that kind of stuff. That means you are going to do fundraising on that level, okay? And of course, when you do it in the online realm, all right, it's kind of like a gray area, because when you do it online, right, people can have a pseudo-anonymous account, right? And obviously as a business, you can say, when you're raising funds, you can say, oh, I don't know where this person is from, but then again, if you're going to be a STO, that means your KYC has to be top notch. Or if you are going to do internal KYC, or you're going to engage a third party, you make sure that they are going to be compliant, and they're going to say, okay, we've already restricted all these folks from this IP address and residents of this country. That means that has to be already there. Then from then, the legal side. All the legal companies that are wanting to, or all the legal service providers that are going to help and assist these companies are of course going to jack up the prices, because I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to make sure that you're compliant, right, with the SEC regulations, so that you're not going to have any issues. So companies who are planning to STO, make sure that you go and deal with the lawyers and make sure they can deliver, because at the end of the day, if you get delisted, you fuck up the whole investors, that's when you're going to get into big trouble, and probably you're going to get into a big time lawsuit for sure. Yep. So you have to make sure that all these things, and especially investors, we are the same, okay? We are the same. We need to be more and more cautious and start asking questions. Unfortunately, the STO market is going to be a different animal, okay? It's not for everybody, and the whole idea is to start being a savvy investor. I think I've always advocated this from the very start when I started the channel. A lot of us are not savvy enough. You think you know the tech, but let me ask you a question. If tech is there, fine, but is the tech moving? Where's the adoption rate? Nobody knows. You think just because there are more wallet addresses, what makes you think I cannot have 100 BTC addresses? It doesn't justify shit. You know what I mean? It's all about the overall transactions that are happening, the overall merchants that are accepting Bitcoin. All these things are not happening. And now you're having STOs. Okay, fine. Make sure that I have shares in your company. That's all I want. If you're a top-notch company that has been around a while, okay, I want to have more proof of existence, that you have been having the database that you claim you have been transparent about your accounting and auditing, that your revenue is growing or at least sustaining during these past 2, 3, 5 years, however long you've been in business. I want to start seeing that. And if you say that you have products, and if you say that you have clients, where? Which countries? And this is all I want to know. I don't care if you're selling pillows. I don't care if you're selling coffee cups. As long as you have revenue and you're showing me you have profits, okay, let's invest. This is how you should start talking, guys. This is how you should start thinking. Don't care about whether is it centralized, decentralized, or whatever crap that we have been seeing, whether it has master nodes, super nodes, or whatever. Show me the actual facts. Show it to me and put it in white paper, so that in the event that you're fucking lying, right, at least we can take you to court. That's all that matters. Okay, so basically we want to take questions from the public. So especially if you have questions, right, feel free to put it down in the chat, and at least we can start answering them. Okay, so does offering an STO then complicate the ability for a company to go to IPO later? Surely the STO to IPO process would be a nightmare to negotiate. If you are planning to STO, right, I would feel that, okay, personally, you put a very good point. If the company wants to STO already, right, and they suddenly want to IPO because they want to list on a main board, right? Because sometimes the main board doesn't, it's a different ball game. It allows fiat, right? STOs are maybe still in the crypto space, because apparently STOs are still maybe an ERC20 or so-called based on Polymath is a ST20, right? So this is just their format. But yeah, if you want to go into the IPO route, right, you still have to raise funds via your by private placement, okay? And if you want to raise money through your retail investors, you have to be approved, right, by like the monetary authority in that country, as I mentioned just now in this video. So I kind of covered that a little bit. So if let's say a company suddenly wants to convert, I know for a fact, right, ICO to STO or ICO to shares, no, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a new round of fundraising. okay, it's definitely going to be a new round of fundraising because ICOs were never compliant because there was no structure to be compliant about, guys. You know what I mean? It's like everyone setting their own rule books. So that's a no-no, okay? But if a company raised funds via an ICO, okay, you must be thinking, shit, if I invested through an ICO, what does that happen to me? What happens to my tokens then? Two things will happen. One, the company does well, okay? The company does well. This is the plus point. Company does well. Their profits, they will use their profits to buy back their tokens to reduce the existing circulating supply. Okay, so the price obviously usually would go up. This is to reward the initial supporters who are buying the tokens, whether in the secondary market or during the early stages. Okay, that's one. The other one is they completely fail. They have no more money, by the way, because the valuation of cryptocurrencies went down significantly, right? And since you have no fucking revenue, right, no profit, how are you going to sustain? Obviously, your tokens will become worthless, and unfortunately for that fact, you will lose all your money. It's a given, okay? Only these two scenarios. Now, for just to answer your question, the ones who are doing an STO, you still have a chance to IPO, okay? Why is that so? Because the regulations are going to be very, very close. It's like, to me, STO is like a very early stage, like the first round funding. Then after that, you have capital already, right? The accounting and auditing definitely will be a fucking big headache because it's crypto to fiat still. Unless the STO has a guideline and framework to say that I allow fiat, I allow Bitcoin, and I also allow Ethereum. Now, my question to you is, you think that the Bitcoin and Ethereum side is going to be that clear cut? It's definitely not, because I need to fucking KYC the people who came in with Bitcoin and Ethereum. You see? If I'm a company, fiat, no problem. Bank to bank transfer. You issue me a check or whatever. Quite straightforward. At least that side is legacy system. Bitcoin and Ethereum, I don't know where your Bitcoin initially came from, right? Did you pull it collectively, or is it clearly all from your own? You know, that kind of stuff. Then after that, Ethereum is the same thing as well. So this is the problem, right? But in essence, based on structure, it shouldn't be difficult for an STO to IPO. That means you're basically doing 2 rounds of fundraising. That's all. But if that's the case, right, why don't you just immediately go IPO? Maybe because of fees, right? Maybe because of fees. Maybe you want to tap onto a new market. That's why you choose the STO route rather than the IPO. But
maybe
if
it takes too long as well.
Maybe it takes too long, yeah. Maybe it takes too long. You got no more money, yeah. Maybe you want to go the STO route.
Holiday.
More plebs, more newbies. They don't know how to ask the right questions. Maybe that's the case. Yep. Okay, so will the STO space be as popular to the investor as the 2017 ICO space? Mr. K, very good question. I would say it would. Think of it this way. As a mature investor, if I have equity to your company, I would definitely be more inclined to invest in you, wouldn't I? Why would you invest purely just on hype, a white paper and a website alone, and marketers? Just based on that. Why don't I be smarter and start looking at a company from where is it at already, right? In terms of revenue streams. If they have multiple revenue streams, even better. One is usually not enough. From then, I look at what's their existing operational costs. If all these things are going to be in black and white from another third-party accounting and auditing firm that is credible and recognized, why wouldn't I invest in that company? I will feel more confident, right? Even if it's a very good show on paper, it's still better than fucking having a website and white paper at the end of the day, right? But this all comes together when how the Bakkt, Amari Trade 3D, TD, you have EVS X, all these big boys, Fidelity especially, how are they gonna start looking at this space? I would definitely want to prep for STOs myself because I'm familiar already. You see, if I'm already a big boy in the space, I would definitely welcome STOs because hey, at least you guys are showing on paper that you all are legit. as opposed to me wanting to list random ICO and cryptocurrencies. You're fucking wasting my time. Even if you wanted to pay me the fee, I want to look credible as an exchange, isn't it? Why do you think the Binance and the Huobis are starting to kind of tighten up a little bit? Sure, they let a few shit projects seep in occasionally, right? Because at the end of the day, we all have to make money. If every bloody project, right, is legit, I tell you, it will be like for probably maybe 10 tokens in the whole of the 2,000 tokens. Just saying. Okay, so yeah, I mean, guys, that is more or less pretty much what we have to cover for today. Like I said, this is going to be a long-ass topic. It's going to be the topic for the next quarter and, of course, next year as well. So it's just a matter of time. So it's good to occasionally have all these thoughts in place. Like I said, feel free to share this video. If you've not subscribed to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And of course, if you felt that this video was a value add to you, give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you in the next live stream. See you guys.